Happy Sunday. We're going to get started with the song, This Is the Day. Please rise and join us.
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Feel the Spirit working His way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, a day to be seized, yeah. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Good morning. I just want to thank whoever found this little cushy pad. I was missing it, so thank you, Rod. Thank you. I feel so much better. All right, so welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goings. I am having a wonderful morning because I have my little cushy thing here. Yeah. So I want to welcome you to this beautiful morning, beautiful day. We're moving into the fall, moving into the cold weather, and it's really exciting here in Arizona. So we have a little bit of a different day today. So we're having the first service, and then we are going to have cookies and refreshments afterwards. And then at 11:30, we're asking everybody to come back in, and we're going to have the memorial service celebrating our wonderful community members that have passed. So please, if you can, stay and join us in that celebration of these beautiful people. Also, we are also having the teachers. The treasures for teachers. The list is on the website. It's also in the newsletter, and we're going to be collecting those items next week. So if everybody could bring them in, if you can bring them in a container, box, or bag, or something like that, and bring them into Papke Hall, and then we'll deliver them to those teachers. And we'll probably say a quick blessing, and then we'll deliver them to the teachers for all their gifts that they're giving to the children. All right, so anyways, we have a full service and a full 2 services of love that we are going to experience today. So if you can just sit back, and we're going to read the vision statement before we get started. But before we read the vision statement, we have a commercial break. So come on up.
Gourmet, 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 gourmet. Gourmet, gourmet. Gourmet, 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 gourmet. Gourmet, gourmet. Hi everyone, it's Julie.
And Kendra,
Your Gourmets for God Goddesses, taking the pitch for another week of the only fundraiser you can eat.
we are at the coin flip and are almost ready for the kickoff to start bidding. But before we can do that, we've got to get the ball rolling for event donations.
There's only one way to get to the goal, and it's not by watching from the sidelines. You have to be on the ball to and come up with an event. Any event will work as long as food is involved. All events are welcome, and you can host at your home, purchase a meal for others at your favorite restaurant, or plan an outing with food included. You can even plan a virtual event around food. You don't even have to know how to cook. You can take an assist on this one.
Take a time out and come up with an extra special event tailored to your own tastes. Your event can be a poetry reading and coffee, a murder mystery, a bunko game night, anybody, a make and munch crafternoon, a cookie party, and even a doggy play date for treats for those 4 and 2 legged guests. Your event can even coincide with your favorite holiday or holiday theme. You can host one event or go for a hat trick. No event is offsides here.
Hosts, pick a date for the event and throw it into your calendar. Rescheduled dates are a red card on the play. We are collecting event donations right now. No time to hesitate. It's time just to make the shot. Donation forms are due today. Please turn them into me no later than 1 p.m.
Punt it, head it, volley it, pass it, whatever it takes to get those forms submitted today. You don't want to see any penalties on the fields.
Choose your strategy. You can pick up a form at home's base. There's still some out there. And you can submit it in person, or you can go home, find it electronically. If you're at home right now, find it electronically, fill it out right now. And printable versions are also on the website, but I don't know that those will get to us. So please email them to me no later than 1 p.m. today. Don't get stuck at the goalpost. It's time to score.
If you want to learn about hosting an event or for the scoop on the Super Fun Gourmets for God fundraiser, you can see the information online at www.wvcsl.com under the About Us, click Announcements, and find the Gourmets for God page.
Let's get those events turned in, and we can call it a
Goal!
Together, we are Big for Fun.
Does everybody know when you're supposed to turn in your form? Just checking. All right, so let's say our vision statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles, and so it is. So if you just sit back, relax into this beautiful space that we call home, and allow your hearts and minds to open up the Bradsford's beautiful music and Reverend Karen's beautiful message. Thank you.
I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be
a quiet place within my life. And I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
In this quiet place that we call home. In this moment, invoking spirit into the embodiment of Reverend Karen's talk, the music of the Bradfords, the words of wisdom, calling forth from my higher self, knowing that the higher self of each and every one of us is open to receive the words that we can take into our day to live the life that we truly wish to embody. That this special place, the place where God resides, here in this dwelling in the physical form and also within the cosmic heart, we just know this truth today, and we celebrate life, love, and the fullness of spirit. This is the perfect time. The time is now, and so it is. I'm reading today from our beautiful, beloved founder's book of the Science of Mind. Thought is an inner movement, which is largely the result of one's perception of life and his reaction to it. Every time this movement takes place, it takes place within mind upon cause according to the law. We are all dealing with the same power that molds the planets and all that is upon them. And the limit of our ability to use this power is not in principle, but in our understanding of it. We are dealing with the neutral creative power, just as we would be in the ease of electricity or any other natural force. It is on a higher plane, for it is the power of intelligence, our thought in its externalization, which will reach its own level just as water reaches its own level by its own weight and without effort. I just invite you into these words, into a moment of silence. And so it is.
Okay, so Bob, could you bring the lights back up? I'm thinking this one has a little bit more energy to it, so, we got our happy, now we gotta get some energy.
Feel free to dance, honey.
We got some dancers. One love, one heart, let's get together and feel alright.
Let me hear you guys.
One love, one heart, let's get together and feel alright. Let us be grateful for the world that we live in.
One love,
We can be happy if we choose to see.
one heart.
All of our blessings are here for the taking. Love, joy, and peace are our birthright to be. One love, one heart, let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart, and you find a secret.
One love.
Divinity's within, if you only believe.
One heart.
Becoming aware is just part of the journey. Then let your light shine for the world to see. Come on now. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. Everybody, one love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright.
Oh, that was fun. We could have that any old day. That was really fun. It's especially nice that the backup singers and dancers were all here in their role to make us especially appreciate all that beauty and joy and one love. And a perfect choice, good song choice for. Oh, I'm a little loud. I'm a little hot, or you can turn something off. I'm not sure which. We got a lot of energy going on in this room. We do. We don't entertain the audience anymore. You've been away a long time. If I call on you, then everybody else will think it's okay. All right, this is an exception. I'm gonna call on that hand up there and see what's going on. What is it, Miss Judy? Oh, it's true. You have not been here in a long time. Thank you. Thank you. Or is the real thing here, you heard me complaining about this hairdo before the service. It's so much work when you're a wild girl like me. It's hard to. So anyhow, welcome. Good morning. I'm so happy you are all here at the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living for our first service of the day. And I am pretty wound up. I've just had, there's a lot of coordinating to do what we intend to pull off and to do well today. And certainly is a worthy goal. The title of the message that I want to deliver in the first session this morning is, the title of the message is Scrutinize God-fully. Isn't that good? Isn't that a good title? And I, of course, found Dr. Holmes talking about how important it is to scrutinize what we think and what we feel and how to do it. And so I summed it up in my own way of saying, well, if we could just do that one love kind of thing, that know that our thoughts and what we're thinking about and what we believe is really then what shows up in our reality. And it comes from that way we pay attention to the presence of God in that kind of ongoing way that happens consistently and always, because life is for the very purpose of uncovering God, of realizing that right where we are, something magnificent and purely divine is always happening, always supporting us. And that's what I want to talk about today. Now, the quote is quite interesting. Listen to this quote I found. Dr. Ernest Holmes, pretty much most of my quotes today are just from Dr. Holmes. And this one I found in the Essential Earnest, where he said this: "It has been said that we can know God only insofar as we can become God. But what does that mean? This is a far-reaching thought, and it should be carefully scrutinized. It is to be taken figuratively and not too literally, for we cannot really become God, but we can and we do partake of the divine nature." And that's what we want to talk about today. We can and we do. We're doing it all the time. We just don't always notice that we're co-creating the situations in our own life. But when we scrutinize God-fully, we are being intentional. And so the word that I'm sort of associating with the message today is attentiveness in that God-fully way, in that God-full way. And I think as I examine the quote, there are two things that were really important in that quote. One that I say with very great consistency, and that is, it's so valuable to remember there is a power that is greater than we are. So there is something about us that is absolutely divine, that is absolutely supporting us in these amazing ways. And yet there is something that's even greater than we are that we can align ourselves to. That's where we speak of spirit as principle. And that's how we can partake of this idea of the God divine nature. But the second half of what we're going to do, and mostly what the message is about this morning, is this idea of scrutinizing carefully. In fact, the word scrutinize, that's what it means. It means to examine closely, to be very thorough in the way you look at the details of any given situation that you are scrutinizing. So we are invited, this morning's topic really invites us to pay careful attention to the matters of spirit, to all of this glorious divine truth, so that we can begin to look for God everywhere and in all of our affairs and experiences, and we can expect that the divine will reveal itself to us because we intend to have that experience. In the context of a Sunday message, it's helpful to pay attention to the way that we are scrutinizing, to the purpose behind the scrutiny. Because very often, when we're scrutinizing, we're being really critical. We're looking very closely to see what's out of order in life. And that then takes on an energy of criticism. And then that's what we'll carry around. And then we'll be looking at everything else that day through critical eyes instead of what we're talking about, looking for the God in the experience. That then changes it changes everything. I remember when I was in community college, I think I had a science teacher, biology, I don't remember what it was. But the teacher, one of our homework assignments was to go out, even if it's just your backyard or somewhere on the campus, and find a tree full of leaves and see if you can find a perfect leaf. And what you'll see is there's no perfection in that. They can be perfectly beautiful, but if you look hard enough, you will see the flaws. And so that's the spiritual lesson for us. As we don't look for the flaws, then we can see the bigger picture and we can see the beauty that's right there in the middle of all of that. So to scrutinize God-fully is to closely examine the details of life in order to see, this is a Holmes quote, in order to see as God must see. Isn't that good? So you may remember that. Now here's the coinkydink that happened in my life. At the end of the year, like right now, I already know what our theme is going to be for next year. And in the old days when we made programs and handed them out because we weren't all so germ phobic, we'll heal it one day, but meanwhile we're saving trees by not publishing programs every day. I'm not sure we really needed them, but it was part of what we did. And so in the end of 1990, no. Wrong, 100 years after that. In 2019, and I'm thinking what our theme is going to be for 2020, where we're going to have this 2020 vision. We're going to have all this clarity about what's going on in life, and then you know what happened in 2020. So my theme was Seeing as God Must See, and that was the program where I put the eye on it. And I was really proud of that. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, I guess we're not looking at much this year. We're here all alone. There are 5 of us in the sanctuary, doing the service for quite a while until November, when we cautiously gathered again. And then if you were here at that time, it was, how many of you were here in November when we reopened? We rearranged. I did it. I wouldn't let anybody help me because I wanted it to be precise. I took a piece of yarn that was 6 feet apart and I arranged chairs in groups of 2 and 3 and occasionally a 4, but mostly 2s and 3s, even 1. And then I took my yarn and I made sure everybody was exactly 6 feet away from everybody else. And then I made those little cards that said, this seat taken. So if you didn't want anybody behind you or in front of you, you could block them off. And, and there weren't many of us showing up. And let me just tell you that suddenly 15 people in the room felt like a full house. It was so good to have people back again in the building. It was like all of us, the 5 of us that were here every Sunday, we went crazy. We were so happy. And I never again, now we go, wow, we're averaging 40. Isn't that great? We never would have said that in 2019. But so our perception changes. Do you get the feel of that? Do you get the feel of how the circumstances of life change? And then I have to be really honest with you. It's almost a little, you should keep an eye on me when I talk this way. But hindsightedly, it almost looked like that theme for 2020 on the front of our programs. We must learn to see as God must see. It almost felt prophetic, that there was something really powerful that had been bubbling up for a long time. And as you know, and as I say frequently, and now here we are, we're still sort of in that liminal zone. I believe we're moving out of it, but we are practicing to see as God must see. Here's the actual quote from Dr. Ernest Holmes. Let us learn to see as God must see with perfect vision. Let us seek the good and the true, and then let us believe them with our whole heart. Right? I have been hearing people in my life say, have an experience out in the world somehow, and then say, people are good. People are good. And it feels to me like we're just starting to notice that beautiful truth. It's like Einstein said, whatever you believe about the universe, that it's a safe place to be or it's not a safe place to be, that will be the life you live. You can live in a safe world or you can live in a scary world. And I think most of us go back and forth. I don't think we feel safe all the time, and I don't think we should feel safe all the time. I think there's a reason we make cautious decisions and thoughtful, and we scrutinize things. But we were just going to add today that edge of scrutinizing God-fully. So that quote, learning to see how God must see, comes from the textbook, Holmes' Science of Mind, in a chapter called Causes and Conditions. And that's the place where, and I haven't talked about this in quite a while. Oh, a cricket. Would you like to save the cricket? Don't smash him. Please, not in front of all of us. Thank you. That's awesome. The crickets are so hardy this season. They loved all that monsoon. How many of you saw that before I did? No? Ooh, that would be funny. How is she going to react to that? Okay, so you saw that live. Causes and Conditions is the title of a chapter in the Science of Mind textbook where Holmes wrote that. And see, it's more fun in person, isn't it? See, you would have missed that completely. You would be wondering, what the hell just happened? But this is also the place in the textbook where Holmes reminds us to not stick our head in the sand, but to look at the problem, to look at the condition. He says, look the discordance in the face. In other words, directly name it. You got to know what the problem is before you can write the treatment to get on the other side of the problem. That's how we teach treatment in the classroom setting. And so he does say we look at the problem in order to turn away from the condition and to face the God quality that we haven't been able to see because we've been so involved in the condition. And that's normal. That's not a reason to think we've done anything wrong. When life frightens us, it takes a minute to get back in the groove again, So we recognize the problem in order to turn toward the solution. So to illustrate that, some of the examples I commonly use are Holmes says, there's a beautiful illustration where Holmes says, if you're lonely and you long to have friendships in your life, imagine that you are a good friend. What would it be like to make yourself a good friend, right? So it's not about the other people anymore. Now you have some say, some control, some choices you can make. So you don't want to be lonely. You want friends. Be a good friend. Figure out how to imagine. Think of it in your mind. If you want health instead of illness, then you focus on your well-being more than you focus on the diagnosis or the things that slow you down in life, right? So if that is your archetype, if health is where you find you have your most work to do in your personal life, then really make a commitment toward envisioning and imagining and reading and writing about things that emphasize your well-being, not on how to get well after being sick, right? But we're talking about knowing that divine truth, that intelligence in you that is always perfect and untouched by anything that's not healthy or for anything that doesn't support your well-being. If you are committed to having an experience in sobriety, then you think of sobriety and not whatever the addiction was or is that you are dealing with. And so it goes on and on and on. Money, you would say, it would be easy to think about what you don't have and why it feels scary right now. And instead, you would focus on the beautiful flow of abundance in nature that's so evident everywhere. So we learn to see as God must see, because God doesn't see lack. God does not see limitation. God is not up there going, oy vey, the world is so messed up right now. What have my people done? So it does take us back to that core position of looking at what is your belief of how you define God. What is God to you in your life? And remember that we are all impacted by what Ernest Holmes used to call the race consciousness, the generally speaking consciousness of all of humanity. But Carl Jung called it the collective unconscious. So when you get in, if you don't choose in the morning, if you don't get up and make a choice what you're going to think and believe for the day, you're going to get what's out there, and what's out there ain't very pretty, right? So make it, step it up. Find a way to seek and know what you need to focus on, what you want to focus on instead of what you don't want to focus on. Clean up your idea of, if you still think there's some guy with a beard on a cloud somewhere watching every move you make, maybe it's time to let him off the cloud and expand your idea of who and what God is. Holmes wrote this quote in that same area. It's not a question of failing or succeeding. It's simply a question of sticking to an idea until it becomes real. The illusion is in the way that we look at things, right? We have a perception, and your perception is different than mine, and it's different than hers, and it's certainly different than his. He's always somewhere. I'm always surprised to know where he's at. So how are you looking at things? As Jesus would say, do not judge by appearances, because there's something more mighty and divine that is also happening in every moment. So the way we perceive things to be is very important. Whether we're right or wrong is not important. So how are you looking at things? Are you seeing as God must see? And what in life is trying to reveal itself to you? Think about today. What do you think you're supposed to take away today? Where are you ready to grow a little bit or expand in some of the things that you believe in? I read a really great something I'm going to share with you about outer space, about the astronauts in outer space, and it comes from a book by Adam Grant. I highly recommend it. It's really a good and a kind of a simple book in understanding the brain science that's being revealed to us. The book is called Think Again. And I read in that book that the astronauts, the people, the astronauts, the men and the women that have been out there circling the planet or walking on the moon, all of the astronauts and the cosmonauts are the very first ones to tell us that if we ever had a chance to get off planet Earth and see what it looks like from space, you will likely rethink how you feel about other human beings. I love that it's worded that boldly. And so there are a group of psychologists that have done research, a team of psychologists that has studied the effects, this is how they say it, they've studied the effects of outer space on inner space. Okay, so what happens when you've been out there? You know, you've been to the moon. I mean, wow, what an experience that would be. I'm not going to sign up, though. I'm just saying that. I might not be afraid of that little cricket, but I don't think I'd like that hole. Like they don't wear pretty shoes. The shoes aren't good enough. They're heavy and clunky. They took this group, a team of psychologists, interviewed and surveyed 100 former astronauts and cosmonauts that had been to space. And they also analyzed any of them that had written autobiographies. If they had written their own report of it, they analyzed those writings, and they came up with this information. They decided that what they learned was that upon returning from space, astronauts are less focused on individual achievements and personal happiness and more concerned about the collective good. It's fascinating, isn't it? And then this is a line that this tickled me. I've just been dying to say this from the pulpit, except I'm going to have to clean it up a little because it has a naughty word in it. Edgar Mitchell, who was on the Apollo 14 expedition, and he walked on the moon, so automatically one of my heroes. He said this, "From out there on the moon, international politics looks petty. You want to grab a politician by the scruff of the neck, and you want to drag him about 250,000 miles out in space, and you want to say, 'Look at that, you SOB.'" You know how bad I wanted to say it. Woo! I might have if Nancy Noel wasn't here today. Just kidding. Just kidding. The reason Nancy Noel makes a funny part of that joke is because she was in charge of the committee that hired me. So I always fall back to that. Nancy called me one day. I had sent in my packet a recording of a talk, and she called me and went after Sunday service, and she said, "All the other ministers that have applied for the position have sent us videos. Do you happen to have one?" And I did not. I had never even seen myself filmed, but it just so happened, can you see the hand of God in this? They had filmed me that very morning. I had the pulpit that morning. And she said, "Oh, and by the way, we need it by Friday." Do you remember, Nancy? And so I then talked to one of my prac students and said, and he was real techie, and I went, I can't tell you why, but you need to, and it was just a congregant that was sitting in the front row filming on all this with all this equipment. It was very random, but in that talk, I had said, I was talking about how you get root bound, and I got myself all worked up like I do, and I got to this point, and I went, "Sometimes you just have to get out of the frickin' pot." And it was recorded. What am I going to do? And then I don't even know you guys. And she goes, "Do you have a talk we could see?" It's like, well, I might. And I think I said to you, Nancy, it will be a great advantage for you because it's the real thing. You'll see the real me in that talk. And I did not disappoint. I still like to do that apparently on the okay. So Edgar Mitchell said a mouthful indeed, and he speaks with some great authority because he was up there and he had that life-changing moment. he saw that there's a bigger picture. The reason they say it's the outer space impacts our inner space is because that's where the inner wisdom is, right? That's where your beliefs and the atmosphere of your thought, it all comes from that inner space. And so I also think it's really interesting that last Wednesday, I don't know if you know this, but last Wednesday was World Peace Day. The United Nations designated September 21st to be the day that we celebrate worldwide, international world peace on the 21st. So if we take that quality of God named peace and we scrutinize it God-fully, what could peace look like? Now, what I find interesting is that because when we scrutinize, we see flaws, and that's our tendency, is that if we created a conversation circle just on to talk about peace, it's very likely we would end up with some passion around war, and that it's very difficult to keep a group of people talking about peace, and the possibility, because we look for the flaws, and we're really, it's like we can't. I'm one person. What do I do? And all of that. So I would just remind all of us, to ask that question. This one helps me a lot. Every now and then, I back myself into a corner over something I'm pondering. But the solution for me is always to ask myself, Miss Karen, do you or do you not believe that in God all things are possible? And that pulls me right back to a deeper truth, because I do believe in God all things are possible. So I think we could. It would be fun to try it. We'd have to have a monitor or something, somebody that was watching and not engaged in the conversation to keep us on track. But it would be fun to see if we could just sit down and we could take turns describing what would peace feel like? What would it look like? And if you couldn't use words to describe what it does not look like, how would we do that? Do you remember that movie where the guy was an angel, I think, and it was a beautiful love story. And he says to the love interest, I forget the name of all the actors, you don't care. And he said to her, because he's an angel, he doesn't know about human pleasures. Tell me what she's eating a peach. Tell me what that tastes like. And then she laughs and she goes, oh, you know what a peach tastes like. And he goes, yes. But describe it. Because he really wanted to know. So what would it sound like if we had a conversation just about peace? One of our practices in this teaching, in the Science of Mind teaching, one of our practices is visioning. It is a different spiritual practice than envisioning. When we envision and we get a picture in our mind, an image in our mind that we're thinking about, visioning is an actual spiritual meditative practice that is set out by Michael Beckwith. It's a formal process, and we ask 5 questions, and you need a little water. You meditate on the 5 questions, and you see what bubbles up, because you're tapping into this higher field. And so then you write things down as they come to you. And the very first question is, what is God's highest idea for this project, or this problem that we're looking at, or this goal that we desire to set? Not what do you think, but if you're meditatively sitting with a very open mind, open to the wisdom that's in the field, especially when 2 or more are gathered, what bubbles up? What is the divine ideal? What possible higher ideas could come if we gave space for God to play with us in that way? And so it's like getting ourselves out of the way to be open for something that we haven't yet readied ourselves. Maybe it's even too big for us to imagine on our own. But there is always a divine ideal. There is always a divine solution to every absolutely every problem. And there's always a purpose in pausing and saying, no matter what's going on, where is God in this right now? Right now. How can I see the presence of God right here, right now? Now, as I playfully considered what I was going to speak about this week, and I was talking about, and I was pondering all the things I wanted to put together, I had this vision. Now, if we lived in Ireland or Scotland, this wouldn't just be a vision. This would be part of our culture, that we could accept this as true and real. But I had this idea that wouldn't it be cool? I'm always talking about the wisdom or the, what is life trying to tell you? It's like life is right there waiting for you to discover it. These are all things that Homestead in a slightly different way, but the way that I get it is like I sometimes feel like there's these little wisdom lights all around me just waiting for me to notice, and then you never know when you're going to go, whoa, and you're going to open, and it will dawn upon you of itself, and it's all the time been right in front of you or right within you. And so I had this vision, like, wouldn't it be cool if we could just playfully in our mind imagine it's a little sprite or a little fairy? And I thought of that Tinkerbell in Julia Roberts did Peter Pan. It was in Peter Pan. And so there's this cute little Tinkerbell, and that whenever she appears, there's fairy dust, there's little sparkly lights and stuff. So wouldn't it be cool if I'm like out on my swing in the morning, and it just kind of ripens the way I feel it when I talk about it this way. So I'm out on the swing. I love sitting on my swing. I love doing my meditation practice out there. I like to read out there. And the whole time I'm out there, imagine that there's a little Tinkerbell-like fairy somewhere around the corner behind one of my potted plants, just waiting, rooting me on, wanting me to find my little sliver of truth for the day. Wouldn't it be cool? And then all of a sudden, I get it, and I like have this profound moment. I have this aha moment, and I'm like, oh, I get it now. Oh, wow, I really understand this. And then my little Tinkerbell comes out from behind the pot, and she goes whoosh, and she throws fairy dust in the air, and these little tiny fireworks are exploding everywhere around her, and she's cheering for me because life is for us. Right? So we do whatever we can to imagine the way we can celebrate our God-ful moments. Those are because they're God-filled. They're divinely filled with wisdom and truth and beauty and peace and all of it. Holmes wrote, all of spirit is wherever we center our attention. All of spirit is wherever we center our attention. So we never want to forget that. We always want to remember that new thoughts create new conditions. And that's just the way this stuff works. So I'm going to close this morning with a quote again from that same, this is page 407 in the Science of Mind textbook. Dr. Holmes said, the universe is a spiritual system impregnated with divine ideas and peopled with spiritual forms. The universe is alive and conscious, awake and aware. It is love and it is life. It is a cosmos. That's what I wanted to say today. And a little more. Always more. Mutual oneness recognized more. So we take these ideas to prayer. And we just feel the love of God right here, right in this room. If you are home, you will notice there is a shift. There is an essence of love that we gently become aware of. And I feel that love, and I rejoice as if it is a new discovery, and yet it is this solid truth that right where we are, God is. Always and in all ways, the presence of God And so these ideas evoke within us that feeling of love, the movement of life, the activity of spirit itself at the core of our being. And we sense that movement, and we know that something indeed has happened in this room this morning. For we have scrutinized God-fully. We have postured ourselves to remember that there is this divine nature of life that we are always connected to. That if there is no place where spirit is not, that every leaf and every flower and every grain of sand, every beautiful insect or four-legged or two-legged, we know it's in the wings of the bird that moves through the sky without even using its wings, that it glides in this gorgeous way that the birds and those creatures that fly can sense the thermals. And so today, we are reminded to catch a thermal, to allow spirit to carry us, to allow ourselves to step back and to just surrender into that beautiful movement of life that is designated as our life. That there is a perfect way for us to show up. And as has been said so beautifully this day, it is the time right now. And so collectively, as a spiritual community, we say yes to life. We say yes to these beautiful opportunities to gather and to serve and to support our community as we move into this harvest season. I feel that movement and activity of life and realize that it is the expression of wholeness revealing itself. And so wherever there has been any appearance of something that ails us in any way, whether it is our health or our relationships or our finances, we simply open ourselves to be healed. We are vessels to receive, and so that's what we do. We allow the grace of God to flow into our lives, into our being this day. And it ignites something at the very center of who we are, indeed, like a great tada with fairy dust and fireworks and celebration, because we are here and we are here now. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, infinite spirit, for this renewed awareness, for this ability to be refreshed on Sundays, so that we can feel the vibrancy of life expressing in us and through us and as us. And with a heart full of gratitude, I simply release the words of this prayer into the law, knowing indeed that it is absolutely done. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Amen.
Grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see is love reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful for all the love that I have.
All right. Thank you, Bradfords, and we are grateful. So I have to share just really quickly that when Karen had that little reaction about that grasshopper, I was like, how is she going to react when that fairy jumps out? And Rod's not going to be there. So, whew, thank goodness we got that out of the way.
Hey, she can call me anytime.
Okay. All right, so now's the time to celebrate our abundance of our lives, our abundance of our community, and just the abundance of love that we have in our lives today. So let's say our joyous giving affirmation together. We, in a consciousness of good, divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Sing that. It feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. Now sing it. It feels so good to be alive. It feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. It feels so good to be alive. It feels so good to be alive. One more time. It feels so good to be alive.
All right, so if you can say our closing affirmation with us. And look at here, you guys. We continue to evolve. I just have to tell you that Kendra back there in the back is an incredible woman. So I threw the affirmation over at her just a few minutes ago, and she pops it up on the screen. So let's just say it together. I am looking for the God in all situations so I can experience all the God qualities in my life. And so it is. One second.
Oh, sorry. I could do it softly.
I'm teaching self-mastery on Thursdays beginning, there's a sign-up sheet out there, beginning October the 13th in the afternoon from 1 to 3 p.m. It's a 4-week class. Details you can find out there. In addition to that, we had 24 women here yesterday for the women's retreat. I'm telling you, we are totally back. And Gourmet for God is really fun. Thank you, Julie, for giving us such fun, and Kendra, what great times we're having. I'm thinking I'm going to add one more to what I gave, because I was thinking, wouldn't it be fun to Zen tangle and over a snack? Yeah, I think there's no end. So remember, pray often, love much. Thanks for being here, everybody.